everybody, what is up? My name's Mackenzie.
And I'm Jonathan.
We are husband and wife, and we'd like to welcome you to TerreDice.
And today we're playing a little game called Love This, Try That. Now, we previously did one of these where we showed a bunch of modern games that I think, if you love this, you should try these other games. And so we each had one, and we came to the table with it. Today we're doing a Classics edition, so this is like Monopoly era, like all your classic games.
Yeah, so we thought this was important because you get together with people or family, and they're like, oh, you're like, do you want to play a game? And they're like, do you have something like Monopoly or something like that? And you want to be like, you want them to enjoy it. Be like, yes, like you like that. Then here are some other options that you can introduce to them that may have like the same theming or the same mechanics or something that they might like. So if that sounds like something you want to learn about to help you out in the future, then just keep watching. So first up is actually a game that I very much enjoy still, and that is Clue. So if you love Clue, what is something else you're gonna like that's maybe like in the same universe? And so for this one, I'm saying Rear Window. Now we've talked about this game before. We reviewed it. It's based on the I think 1950s, 60s Alfred Hitchcock movie, and I think this is a great option because you, as well as in Clue, you are trying to find out who the murderer is, like what like weapon or like how it pairs up and stuff like that. And so it's the same vibe of you are trying to decipher as a team against the director on who, if there was in fact a murderer, what the plot is of this movie and who did it.
Yeah. I think the cool twist is there's one person who's the director using pictures to try to convey that to all the other players. Yeah,
we often say about this one, like what Mysterium should have been. That's another classic one. But yeah, Rear Window. So what is yours?
Cool. Mine is Betrayal at House on the Hill. This is another kind of classic one, but if you like the concept of running around a house with like trapdoors to get other places, and you like sort of an unfinished puzzle, someone betrays the rest of the group halfway through the night, and there's sort of a puzzle of like how you actually defeat them. They don't know how you're trying to defeat them. You don't know what their ultimate goal is, so it's kind of cool to try to deceive the other players long enough to win.
So like both like hidden information, like Clue, like you don't know what it's gonna be until the end. Murder is involved in some aspect usually. Yeah. All right. Cool. So that's Clue.
Next up, we got Uno. So everyone's kind of favorite card game of putting down the next best card. So for this one, I suggested The Game, which is published by Pandasaurus. They also have The Game Face to Face. That's the one we have. It's a two-player one. But essentially, you're playing cards on two stacks. One is ascending numbers, one is descending numbers. And you're trying to get all of your cards down. You might be playing to your own, you might be playing to your opponent's. And then in addition to that, you can also like rewind by going exactly 10 up from the current number. So it's kind of just a fun little game where you're trying to churn through your cards as quickly as you can. Lots of fun strategy in it.
Yeah, that is a really good choice. And also in the similar card game is the ladder building game Scout. Now we've talked about this game before. It's a kind of a trick-taking ladder building game where you put down a card, a number, and then someone else is trying to either beat that with a higher number, two of a kind, or with a 3 in ascending or descending order. And so it's the same sort of like I beat that, you beat that, and you collect the cards. So it's the same kind of feel. But we've talked about Scout before on the channel. It's a classic. Jonathan always carries it with him in his backpack. It's a fun, lighthearted, but this gives you a little bit more meat than
my favorite twist is you can't rearrange your hand and you have to play cards next to each
twist.
other.
Yeah,
so.
You can never rearrange your hand when you're playing it down, and that'd be cool if like maybe you could try that with Uno. Be interesting. So next up is Hey, You Sunk My Battleship, and that so that is Battleship. So for this one, I am choosing Jaws. So we're sticking in the ocean theme, but just like in Battleship where you don't know where the other person's ships are and you're trying to guess and sink them, this one you don't know where the shark is. So half the group, like everyone else in the group is playing like the different people in the movie, and then one person is the shark and they're trying to go around and attack it, and you don't know where they are and they're choosing where they go, and you're trying to decipher and like be like, is the shark here, is the shark here, and it's the same sort of concept of like trying to to figure out where the shark is going to attack, but then Jaws
Yeah.
is trying to defeat everyone else and eat the people.
Fun fact, our Bark Avenue prototypes were on the back of Battleship boxes, so we
Yeah.
taped over the cover.
Yeah, so we contributed to the sales of Battleship, but you should go play Jaws instead. Okay.
All right, so mine is very similar-ish to Battleship, but what if you all played like roles on the ship? So one person's the captain, one person's the engineer, one person's like got the sonar and the radar and is listening in on the radio. So that is Captain Sonar. This is a real-time game for really 6 or 8 players where you basically sit across from each other with a big blinder down the middle. You have markers and these erasable sheets, and you're trying to move around and track down the enemy submarine and sink them while they're trying to do the same to you. The radio operator's trying to listen to where the other one's going. They're moving the map around, and it is just like absolutely wild fun. You'll play a game in about 20 minutes or so, and then you'll just be itching to play again. But it does require a very high player count, and it is very worth it.
Yeah, I haven't been able to play this one yet, and I'm really excited because he has played it several times now and has hyped it up. So it sounds like a lot of fun. So Captain Sonar on the list for me as well.
All right, next up on our list is Yahtzee. So you're rolling dice, you're trying to score points. There is a game called That's Pretty Clever, which is basically Yahtzee on steroids. It's like way kind of more interesting scoring mechanics. You got a bunch of different ways you can use those dice, but it's kind of a very similar, I got a sheet, I'm trying to score, I'm having a good time. So definitely recommend That's Pretty Clever for like Yahtzee level 2.
Yeah. And then if you are, I don't know, mine is what, I hear this comparison a lot for Yahtzee, so I'm going to say it, and that is Dice Throne.
Battle Yahtzee.
Yes, I was going to say, this is like, everyone says, like, what is Dice Throne? Everyone says it's Battle Yahtzee, because that's essentially what it is. Like, everyone has, like, their dice that they're chucking and they're throwing, and then you
And they got the reroll just like in Yahtzee.
So everyone plays a different character, and you're trying to pair up when you pair up different dice together, they give you different powers and stuff like that. And there's a wide variety of characters you can choose from. There's also a Marvel Dice Throne. And people get very competitive with Dice Throne. It's kind of blown up like lots of tournaments. My sister-in-law loves Yahtzee, and so she loves Dice Throne.
Yeah.
So I can attest.
That's probably the most accurate. Love this, try that.
Yes,
on the list.
she is. Yeah, I would say that's the best. Like you love this, try that. Definitely Yahtzee to Dice Throne. So next we have the classic chess game. So chess is a difficult game, but let's say you've played a lot of chess and you want to try something different. But and so for this one, I'm going to say Onitama. So for this one,
I love it.
You are playing on this really cool, like, what do you call that material? Like
the playmat, like
playmat, like mouse pad material.
Mouse pad.
That you roll out, and then so you're playing both like head to head against each other, but the movement that you do is come by the card that is passed to you, and each card is going to be like a different animal, like the dragon, and it shows you the pattern that you have to move in, and those cards get switched around.
So basically your pieces are always changing the way they can move turn by turn.
Yeah, and so you're trying to make your way across the board and get to the other side, or is it capture their master? Their master. Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
And for me, I would say Shobu. So this is a more simple but kind of interesting abstract game where essentially you have a passive board where you're going to move a stone, and then an active board where you're going to move a stone mirroring the exact same move, but you can shove your opponent's stones off the board. And your goal is to, on one of your active boards, shove the opponent's stones all off of that board, and then you win the game. Really interesting spatial awareness puzzle, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I would also say these are good comparisons because they all three have very interesting pieces and components, and so Shobu's very minimalistic nature, but it's beautiful, and then Onitama is these really cool figurines like, so it's still like the chess aspect. So yeah.
Next up is Risk. It's your command and conquest for all the territories of the world. If you are a fan of war games generally and getting your soldiers out there and I'm going to invade your territory and you're going to fall back and all this, these are the games that we think you will love. For me, I would say it's more nuanced than just a war game, but that is Scythe. This is one of my all-time favorite games.
War and farming.
War and farming. So you're actually disincentivized from fighting in this game, despite the giant mechs on the cover, because because it is past the war. We're done with that. We just want to farm and like do our objectives now. But in times of need, you can absolutely have combat. It's got a really interesting combat system with betting some amount of power you're willing to put in, and you will lose popularity that you have to be willing to lose to get things done. And so I just think it gives you a lot more kind of nuanced decision making around whether you should fight or not. So I just think that's a really cool system, and also just the rest of the game mechanics are great.
Yeah. So that is, and then also on this is definitely like war, and that's going to be Undaunted Stalingrad. So this is like Risk in the sense that you're fighting, but instead of like the whole world, it is zoomed in into one specific battle that's very historically accurate. It's actually written by a World War II writer. So it's a campaign story where one person is the Nazis and the other person is the Russians, and they are battling it out over this campaign, and involves card drafting, and you get really attached to your soldiers as you're sending them out into the field, and when they die, like it can be a very emotional experience.
They get permanently removed from your deck for future games. Yeah.
So,
or they get upgraded. My mustache dude is still living on, and he's awesome.
Or they get upgraded.
Yeah, and he's doing great. I'm very scared for him.
But I would definitely say if you like Risk and like the aspect of conquering, Undaunted Stalingrad is a great choice. All right, and last is probably one of the most classic. I mentioned at the beginning. If you love Monopoly, what else are you going to love? Okay. So for this one, if you love in Monopoly that aspect of like screwing other people over,
teaming up on people,
teaming up with everyone else to that one person that seems to be kicking everyone else's butt, then I would suggest that you play Survive Escape from Atlantis, which is this game where everyone is trying to get off the island as it is slowly melting and falling into the sea. And you are trying to get other people eaten by sharks. You're trying to get onto the boat and escape with the most treasure.
Other people can ride on your boat with
Other
you.
people can just tag along and make you do the work as like you go to drop them off. So it's just it's very, very interesting. The strategy is everyone has numbers underneath their meeples and they go on the island, but you can only look at that at the beginning of the game, and once they go on the island, you can't look at it anymore. And those numbers represent the amount of treasure you have, and so you're trying to get off the island. So at the end, you reveal, and whoever has the most points wins the game. But it's definitely like, you and your brother get very competitive, and it definitely becomes very Monopoly-like. Go ahead.
Awesome. My game is it's like Monopoly in that you kind of like go around the board, you land on people's locations that they own, you gotta pay rent sometimes, you can get bonuses from landing on your own spaces. Every time you pass go, you get money. Hey,
it's true.
Sounding really similar.
Actually, yeah.
But Great Western Trail.
Wow.
So it's like a lot heavier, but you get scratches the same itch as I like having property I own that I put along the path, and you get a bit more agency because you get to choose how far you go. But I think that's a really interesting case study of wow, this actually reminds me of heavy Monopoly.
Yeah.
So if you want to trade cows and go to Kansas City, then that's true. It does end. So if you want to trade cows and go to Kansas City, play Great Western Trail.
Awesome. Okay, cool. All right. So that is the list of the classic games and what we think you should try. I'd love the comment section to also put in suggestions. I'd love for the comment section to be a place where people can go to so they can find more suggestions that they can help introduce their friends and family to that are enjoying those classic games. But as always, I hope this was super helpful. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can know whenever we put out a new video. And we'll see you next time.
Happy playing!